Right. Thank you for meeting with me today, Mahboob. I'm really excited to be talking with you today. I understand you, like myself, are also a Canadian trained FMCA health coach. So getting a nice perspective on what functional medicine is like here in Canada. Tell me a little bit about your career as a health coach.
Every day, every morning when I wake up. So I have this, I have this energy, I have this mission, and I have this drive to wake up and then, do something towards or accomplishing this mission. And having said that, I think one of our like founders, I forgot, was it Elise or Dr. Sandy? But they said, or they suggested, to talk about it frequently once you are graduated, and I don't remember a single day. I'm telling you, I don't remember a single day which passed by and I don't talk with someone about what we do. So either, it's like functional medicine or it's like coaching or the holistic approach, that what we do and why we do and how much do we need it, in a society, or, within ourselves and then with the people we surround. So this is, I can tell you about the career so far. But one thing I would like to add here briefly, that what I have realized after 1 year of whole 1 year, of intensive, I would say, training and sessions, that I was doing that coaching thing for the last several years. I would say maybe more than 15 years.
Mhm.
But it was without knowing that I was doing coaching, and it was without any structure, without any, like now when I do coaching or I try to do coaching, the reflexes are in here. So
Mhm.
I know what I have to talk to,
Mhm.
right? One, two, three, four. So I do have those steps. And again, thanks to this extended curriculum of FMCA, the coach approach, not the expert approach, but the coach approach, how to listen empathetically, then how to reflect, and then, how to um, uh, like be like, mindful when you talk to your, clients whatsoever. I didn't know that structurally, or like, so now it's in my reflexes. And now what I do, we do this coaching sessions, although very limited, but we know it by heart, we know it by reflexes, that what we are doing and what we are supposed to do. So I hope, Kelly, that answers your question about the um, career or coaching experience so far.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. And, of course, that's very true to the coach approach is education. And it sounds like you're doing exactly that. Every day you're out there educating the general public, whoever it is that you run into, at the lady at the grocery store or a
Exactly.
physician,
You
about what
you
functional
just took,
medicine
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Yeah,
I really
yeah,
do that. Even with the cashier, the lady who's on the cashier, like,
yes.
I just like, I find a way to communicate with her, right?
Hmm.
And then tell
Hmm.
something about, you know, about either coaching or about the being well, that
Yes.
how important it is. Yes.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think it's interesting, even if if you're not telling them about functional medicine or health coaching, that you are applying your coaching skills in many interactions that you have throughout your daily life. I think about that lady at the grocery store, and if you happen to see that she's smiling and happy, you can use that coach approach and reflect back saying, "Wow, you must really enjoy your job. You seem very happy and I can see by the big smile on your face that this brings joy
Exactly,
to you,
exactly.
right?"
That's what I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So tell me, how did your student experience at FMCA support you for your career or for where you would like to go for your career?
So again, another great question. And before that, let me tell you two things. I am in a habit of, like, you can call it as a perfectionist approach, but whenever I do something, I deep dive into it. right? And that's what exactly happened with me when I was. So let's go back into July 2022, when, when for the first time I came to know through a friend. So this friend, she is a practicing physician, an MD, and she is in Florida right now. And like, so we did our medical school together, and to somehow I found her after, like, after, let's say, 15 years. So um, we connected on Facebook, and then, as we do that, hey, how are you, how is family, what you are doing, what I'm doing, blah blah blah. So when I was telling her that I'm working now as a consultant, and I was, 20 plus years I was working with this company in a corporate role and traveling the world, blah blah blah, and when I asked her what you were doing, she said, I was doing a regular, my family physician practice, MD, but recently I found something fascinating, and it is IFM. So that was the first time I came to know officially what IFM was. And then she said, you know what? I know you have been working voluntarily so much, and because she knew me from my medical school, right? And I used to work for poor patient societies, any sort of volunteer work anybody wanted, so they used to come to me for, any sort of arranging, uh, like a charity dinner, or all those activities. So I would, love to do that. So she said, since you do a lot of these things, why don't you consider, with the holistic thing, why don't you consider, have a look into IFM? Okay. So I started look into IFM. It's now July 2022. And that was the time when I came across with FMCA. And then there were two paths, uh, moving fast forward. So there were two paths. One of them was IFMCP, and the other was FMCA, right? So for the listeners, I think they know about it, but one of them is for the licensed physicians who are already in practice, and the other one, which is FMCA, is for the coaching, which is for not licensing or not practicing physicians. Now, I was a physician, but I never practiced in Canada as a physician. So I thought that this second approach would, it resonated more with me, as a coach, because then I don't have to go back to, that licensing process and then opening up an office, all those admin work. So I opted for FMCA. And then we started deep diving into FMCA. I came across with other programs, other courses as well, which were being offered in Canada. Like, I cannot take the names, but they were being offered here in Toronto and also in the US. So some of them, they were like for 3 months. Some of them, they were like for 6 months, 12 weeks, stuff like that. So again, going through the curriculum, it was, just like the awe, or, the jaw-dropping moment each time when I was reading through the curriculum. Motivational interviewing, positive psychology, behavioral changes, the empathy, mindfulness, mind-body connection, you just name it. I cannot remember I cannot recall the whole thing. But so I thought, no, although it's 1 year, but it's worth of 1 year of engagement. And, so I talked to Sandy. I just, first of all, I attended one of the calls, which all the, the students there have been offered, like, a discovery call. And then I requested Dr. Sandy for one-to-one. And, now I realize her, again, Dr. Sandy's flexibility and her, bravery. Really, she is a superwoman. Carrie, she's a superwoman. I don't know I couldn't figure out how she manages everything, you know, uh, with being so much busy. But the moment I finished call with her, I think I was totally convinced. I registered myself, and yeah, uh, mm, this was part one. Part two, I would say I was very, very, very lucky that I got my uh, course facilitator, and I would like to take her name. So she's
Mhm.
Jan Goldberg, and again, you know, all across the board, whoever is there, they are all brilliant. But I would say that she resonated with us or with me a lot, you know.
Mhm.
And uh, having said that, I did not miss a single class of her, not a single class in whole 1 year. Every Thursday, our cohort was from 8 to 10 p.m. And no matter, I made sure that I should attend that. So that whole 1 year, it set, it set up such a great momentum of learning for me that, so as we were discussing earlier, the via character strengths, there were so many things which I didn't know about myself, right? And one of my top character strengths is love of learning, apart from other five, but love of learning, which, so I realized, and then I don't want to stop it today or, even in my rest of the life. So this is how I can explain. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I met wonderful, cohort, our, like, fellow students, and we are now, very good, I would say, friends. We are an extended family. Okay, we are in touch even today, and I don't see any reason that we won't be interacting in future. So yeah, great experience, great people, and as I said, I would like to be a student for rest of my life now.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Mahbub. It's interesting that you talked about love of learning as your top character strength. I feel that many of us coaches have that as our top character
Absolutely,
strength or within our
absolutely,
top
we do.
five, right? Yeah, which is why we all sort of are here. And so it sounds, what I'm hearing is that for you, your student experience with FMCA really was about the extensive curriculum, the evidence-based medicine
Evidence,
approach,
exactly.
your obviously your facilitator and all the other wonderful people in your cohort, the students, and that you remain in touch with today
Brilliant.
as your colleagues. Just talking about FMCA's alumni program, could you tell me a little bit about how it helped you and what your experience has been like?
Certainly, there is so much to talk, but since you have asked me specifically about FMCA alumni program, and to me, it's the end of, what we have been gone throughout the year, right? Like
Mhm.
being a student and being going through the whole program, and now be a part of alumni. So, um, in a very short answer, I would say that being a part of alumni program, it's like an oxygen,
Mm.
for me to breathe in every day. It's like I can symbolize it with a water for, for a fish to survive once, uh, it's out there, because it's such a supportive, and, it's such a supportive and uh, encouraging, uplifting community. I cannot imagine myself surviving without it, in simple words.
Oh, that's so
you know
beautiful.
yeah, and I think with my words I cannot justify what I'm trying to say, but it's like it's a must. If alumni program wouldn't be here, I could not have, I would say, survived. And
Yeah.
survival in a way that after, we graduate, like everywhere happens, when we graduate we have our own paths, we have our own, like plans and career paths. whatsoever. But this community, it gives you so much, like community feeling, and because the practical questions, the practical queries, when we graduate and we come out, the only place to get the answers is through the alumni program. With fellow graduates, with seniors, with the ones who are joining right now, and plus the faculty, plus
Mhm.
I love to be in office hours, and I can tell you really religiously that I don't remember missing any office hours until today, as much
Wow.
as I could. Yeah, you know, um, CCB, the Connect, Collaborate, and Build program. Every program has its own, like flavor, its own
Mhm.
importance. But in a nutshell, they were very helpful until today, and I'm looking forward, to be to be to get benefit out of it, and to be part of the whole community um, in the coming days, months, or years.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today, Mahbub. I really appreciate your
Carrie,
feedback and
pleasure is all mine. But if you
yes,
give me only a couple of minutes, I would
yes,
like to just say one thing more about
absolutely,
alumni program. You know
absolutely.
what? So every one of us, we are out there, right? We are online. We are using social media, everything. And because of this artificial intelligence algorithms or whatsoever, we have been bombarded with all the, resources out there, right?
Mhm.
Like, coaching of the coaches, this business coach, that business coach, that crash program, or without taking any names, we have been overwhelmed, if you agree with me,
Mhm. Yes,
right?
yeah.
Now, so as a human being, or as a fellow, uh, voyager or discoverer, I went through them as well. But, and that's the point here, my bottom line is, when I compare to our existing resources in alumni program, right? I can tell you with 100% confidence that what I'm doing right now, luckily, we have an excess of all that material, of all those resources within the alumni program. And if you are not even alumni program, as an ex-student, you have an access to all those resources, right? So
Mhm.
what I have done now, I go through, to keep up my momentum as well, I go through these modules on weekly basis, right? Just one of them, starting from module 1, module 2, right? So let's say this is now November. I have gone through module 3 with my own pace, with my own, but let me tell you, each time I'm going through them, there is something new which I
Mhm.
understand in a much better way, which I could understand at that time as a student.
Mhm.
Please go through all that resources. It's I would say it's a mountain of uh, you know resources. It's a treasure of information, about how to start the business, how to start the niche, how to do this, how to do that. So that career navigation is something worth to go, at your own pace. But please go through it. It's such a wonderful tool.
I'm
And,
hearing your
and
strength of
yeah,
perseverance here as
yes,
well.
it
Yes,
is really.
yeah.
And I highly recommend to go through all those resources once again, and
Mhm.
you will feel like a new perspective each time. with
Mhm.
with that practical training which you have been through with PSD1s, PSD2s, with all those exercises. Now when you listen to them, when you read them, it gives you a new perspective.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. And I think as coaches, when we're not coaching, we like to watch coaching. And you learn something from every coaching interaction that you see, and you get to see how people, there are different coaching styles and how people coach a little bit differently. And you can take those, tips and tricks and apply it to your own coaching
Absolutely.
style as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mahbub. What an enlightening conversation it is to always share and hear your perspectives. So thank you so much for your time. And
You are most welcome, and thank you. Carrie, pleasure is all mine.
thank you.